Hello and welcome to another edition of In the Ring. I'm your host, Nicky Knuckles. Thanks for tuning in, and today I have Dave Tenny on the show. Dave, thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate it. How you been?
Good.
Everything's good?
Everything's great.
Great, thanks. And I just wanted to talk about a few things. How did you first start getting involved in boxing? For one thing, people might not know that you're a pretty well-known cut man and working corners of world championship fights. But how did it all start?
Well, it started years ago. I first started boxing when I was in the Navy. And I had about 15 amateur fights. And when I got out, I wanted to continue. So I thought maybe turning pro might be a good decision. But after sparring with a couple of young fighters, I realized that's not the way to go.
Yeah.
So I decided to work outside the ropes. So I became a trainer. And then after about 10, 12 years of that, I became a professional cut man. And I did that by meeting, to me, the best guy in the business, Al Gavin.
I agree.
And that was it. He just said to me one day, he said, do you want to be a cut man or you want to continue being a trainer? I said, I want to be a cut man. And that's how it started.
That's great. I remember I used to see you up at the Cage Boxing Club up on Ferris Avenue.
Yeah,
when I was
with
training back
Charlie.
then. Yeah. Charlie Caserta, Kid Sharkey.
Yeah.
Kid Sharkey's still with me up there on Ferris Avenue at the Westchester Boxing Club. And what's your your relationship with those guys? Like the late
well,
Charlie
has passed on.
Yeah.
He was a great guy and a ton of knowledge. Kid Sharkey, to this day, he still hugs me. He's the greatest guy in the world. What can you say? He's got about 75 years of experience with him.
Yeah.
So his knowledge is surpassed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really great. It's fortunate, for us that we've been schooled by these guys.
Oh yeah, you get to hang around him and you'll pick up a tremendous amount of knowledge.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned, Al Gavin, the late great Al Gavin, and
Al was my mentor.
Yeah, we lost Al not too long ago.
Yeah, he just went suddenly and he had a stroke.
Yeah.
And it was too bad. He taught me so much, not just being a cut man, but the business of boxing. He was just an invaluable amount of information.
Yeah. I learned a lot. I was fortunate too. I wasn't as fortunate as you to be, under his wing and schooled, constantly by him. I was busy. I guess while Al was schooling you, Sharkey was schooling me. But I was real lucky to have
That's okay.
Al.
You had a good teacher too.
Yeah. But Al used to teach me about wrapping hands.
Right.
And I never really knew how important that was. Coming from the amateurs to training pro boxers, and he used to teach me a lot of tricks and stuff to look for, and it was great. And he took the time, and he'd take the time with anybody. It's the type of guy he was.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He spent a tremendous amount of time. Me and him actually, we'd sit down and have like sessions.
Yeah.
With just me and him, and we'd go over things and steps and getting into the ring. As soon as the fighter would come back to the corner, it was just amazing.
That teamwork, I know.
Yeah.
I've worked corners with a lot of guys, and when you have that rapport, that good relationship with them, and everybody knows their piece and what to do, and there's no bumping into each other or confusion.
Exactly.
In the corner.
Yeah. That's a key.
Yeah.
In working a professional fight.
Yeah. And just about a week before Al passed, I was down at Gleason's with him, and it was he's just a great guy to talk to. He'll talk to you about anything, and not just boxing. One memory I had one of my pro boxers sparring with number 2 light heavyweight Eric Harding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I brought my guy out to spar Eric, and it was me and Al and another trainer and my boxer and Eric, and we're all there. So they're boxing, and the one other coach, I guess for some reason, didn't like me or whatever, he's an older guy. So he was trying to tell me what to do and push me out of the corner and tell me, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, right? So, I was offended, obviously, and I kind of didn't know what to do. And Al came over and he says, you don't talk to him like that. He says, you're just as good of a trainer as him. He says, he said, you stand up for yourself. He said, that's your fighter. You tell him what to do. He says, you don't listen to nobody. He says, don't take nothing from nobody. He says, it doesn't matter what age you are. He says, I know you know
That's
stuff
Al.
because Sharky trained you, and you're a good trainer. And I said, thanks a lot, Al. I appreciate that. It's just, that's the type of guy he is, stand-up guy. He stands up for what he believes in and his friends.
Definitely,
That's
yeah. And you're right, that's how it is down in Gleason's, too.
Yeah, it is. And it's a fight in and out of the ring sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But,
you go up the stairs and down the stairs.
Yep. Now, tell me and tell the audience about what's your most memorable situation in the ring.
Actually, there's been a couple. I had a fighter from Yonkers a while back. His name was Joe Hughes.
Yeah.
And Joe had a tough fight, very tough fight in Connecticut, and he got cut immediately in the first round, like a minute into the round. And he was cut so badly that when I got him into the corner, the doctor came right over, and he said, all right, you're doing a good job. I like the way you work. You work just like Al Gavin. And I said, it's funny you're saying that because he was my teacher.
Great compliment.
So that was, I'll never forget that. And probably another good one would be my former world champion, Jose Rivera. He was the junior middleweight champion of the world. He, before he became champ, he fought in New York and Staten Island. He had a cut over his, I believe it was his left eye. It took over 42 stitches to finally, when the fight was over.
Done, yeah.
But he was cut in the first round of an 8-round fight, and I carried him through the whole fight. And the doctor basically left me alone after the second round. So that was pretty memorable.
Yeah, I know those doctors can put a lot of pressure. I've seen them
They
firsthand.
do. Yeah.
Especially
that's their job.
It's a big fight. I've been right there in the corner, and some guys panic and they buckle under the pressure. They let the doctor make the decision when if they know what they're doing, they can get that cut closed and stop that bleeding.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. The doctors will let you continue if you know what you're doing to stop it.
Yeah, you have to have a good rapport with the doctor.
Yeah.
And if they have confidence in you, then you're fine.
Yeah.
They'll let you do your thing.
Now, I know there's always the secret ingredients to the trade that you can't give up. I know that, so we won't mention that.
Yeah.
But what have you found to be the most effective method? Not necessarily the ingredients, but method as far as pressure. What have you done?
Well, you have to remember you have limited time.
Yeah.
So you rely on certain coagulants, and there's only certain ones that are allowed per state. There's generally 3 that are allowed. They're adrenaline hydrochloride. Another product is called Avatine, and thrombin. Avatine is the most expensive, but it's probably the most effective coagulant out there. But that would be for a deep cut, such as like if you nicked a vein, and you could tell that by the different color of blood, it'll actually be darker, than a capillary cut, which is lighter in color. But that would be probably the most effective thing. And of course, pressure.
Yeah. Now, do you find that, what's the most difficult cut to work? Would that be a cut that was in the nose, maybe under the eye?
Actually, probably one of the most difficult ones is actually up on the scalp. It's difficult because if the fighter has hair, it's tough to see.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And you actually, you have to use part of his hair to help you, to try to get it to clot. Because your coagulants, it's very tough to get it in there. So that would be probably one of the toughest. As well as in the eyelid. Eyelids are very tough. You can't really see it too well. You don't know if it actually went through the lid. So you really have to look at that.
Now, what's the, you said you've seen, cuts on top of the head.
Right.
There are other places, the ear.
I've seen cuts in the ear, outside the ear. You have to be very careful with those.
Why is that?
If it's coming from inside the ear, chances are the eardrum is punctured. So that I would probably recommend. You'll know right away your fighter will have difficulty. He won't be able to hear you too well. He might have difficulty standing. And that is probably good grounds to probably call the bout.
Exactly.
I would recommend that to the trainer.
Yeah, there's it gets tricky because if your fighter is maybe even on the scorecards,
Oh yeah.
and you're going into sixth round maybe, or
Right.
last round of the fight, there's a lot of guys that keep a fighter in there too long, and they
Oh,
don't
yeah,
they don't
I've
pull
seen
him
it.
out when they should. Maybe he lost 6 rounds,
Right.
clearly, and he's cut and he's hurt and he's beat. Are there any times that you felt that you should stop the fight, and you saw maybe the referee wasn't stopping it or the doctor wasn't stopping it? Have you ever got to that point where you thought maybe?
I would say I've seen that a couple of times. Uh, Again, it's as the cut man, it's really not my call. I can only suggest,
Yeah.
which I would definitely do to the trainer, and I have before. I would say maybe just one time, the trainer didn't want to go with me, and the fighter actually got pretty hurt.
Yeah.
But more times than that, the trainer will agree with me.
Now, as far as from state to state, are there any licensing? Because I know it's a kind of an art that isn't out there for people to just learn, and you can't
Right.
really go somewhere. You have to be schooled and taken under the wing by
Exactly.
a master of the sport. Um, what do you suggest for, say, a young trainer that's out there that wants to learn the art of that part of the sport?
Uh, you really have to be involved in the business to begin with, in some way or form, and that's only in the professional ranks. Because in the amateurs, it's not needed. But that's a tough one. I get asked that a lot, and a lot of times I have to tell people, look, if you're not already involved in the business, there's really not much I can help you with, because you need to be involved with fighters, trainers, managers, or affiliated with a gym. So it's really tough.
Now, if you take a great organization like the New York State Athletic Commission,
Right.
we had a wonderful gentleman on the show not too long ago, Frank Lombardi. He's a judge
Oh
down
yeah,
there.
sure, I know Frank.
They have to pass certain tests,
Right.
certain requirements, and sometimes I don't know if it's mandatory, but coming out of the amateurs, doing a little amateur judging before they step up to the pros, even though it's a different
Right.
judging system. There is no, from what I know, there's no specific tests or anything that you have to take. What are the actual qualifications of, say, the New York State Athletic Commission certifying you and saying, Dave, you're a licensed cut man in the state of New York, and how does that differ from state to state? Is there any requirements?
There is some differences in different states. New York has, they don't actually have a cut man license. They have what they call a seconds license.
Class A, B, seconds.
Right. In the corner, you're actually called a second.
Yeah.
That's what they call us. So you would get a seconds license. There is, however, in Nevada and California, they just came out with a actual test that you would have to take to be a cut man.
Interesting.
Yeah, and those are the only two states that I know of right now. I've been to a lot of states in this country for boxing, and I don't know of any other state that actually makes you require taking a test.
Do you think that there should be, do you think that there, and how would that be handled? Do you think that would be like a physician, like say a doctor at an athletic commission, that maybe knows the fight game and knows the situations at hand, would be able to, work with a new person or somebody that was involved in the sport that was interested in being a cut man and
Right.
say, look, this is what I consider, a bad cut and it needs to be stopped? And I mean, how would that work, do you think?
I definitely agree. I think there should be a test.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there who claim to be cut men, and they really don't know what they're doing in the corner. I hate to say that because I don't want to knock anybody, but if you watch fights, you can see. And there should be a test, and I agree. I think that one of the commission doctors should handle that.
Yeah.
You know.
You have anything upcoming? I know you mentioned something about maybe Mohegan
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but I'll find out tonight. I might have a fight tomorrow night up at Mohegan's Son for Matt Godfrey.
Okay.
He's cruiserweight, undefeated cruiserweight. I have May 4th, I have upcoming Mike Oliver, who's the USBA super bantamweight champ. He'll be defending his title up at Mohegan Sun May 4th.
Great.
And right after that, I should have Jose Rivera should be getting back into the ring.
And it kind of is a last-minute crazy game.
It can be.
Phone rings.
I've
gotta go.
Been in that situation many times. Guys call, oh, you're not going to believe this. You know,
Yeah.
we got to take this fight, and it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. Or I could be actually filling in for another cut man.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that happens. You're just there to
Absolutely.
watch the fights and maybe have a hot dog and hang out, and
Right.
and they pull you out of the seat and they say, Dave, we need you in the back. We need you up in the corner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah. Now, yeah, it is a crazy game.
Yes.
Who are some other cutmen that are out there? I mean, you guys are kind of like almost in the shadows of boxing. You know, usually
Right.
it's the fighters and the trainers. You know, you have like a top heavyweight, and you have like an Emmanuel Stewart, and then you have the assistants in the corner, and
Right.
and guys really don't know who these cutmen are like you, and you guys don't sometimes get that recognition or just in the
You're right.
spotlight.
Sometimes we don't. There's a few really good cut men out there right now. I consider myself to be one.
Definitely.
Jacob Stitch Duran, who is from Las Vegas. I consider him also one of the best. He works with Klitschko. He works with all the UFC fighters. Joe Souza was a pretty good cut man. I just don't see him around too much.
Yeah.
He's getting up there in
Yeah, he
age.
is, he is.
There are some young guys coming up that are pretty good. Sid Brombeck from Philadelphia. He's worked just about every Philadelphia fighter out there. He also has probably at least 30 to 40 world championship fights. I have 30 myself under my belt.
That's amazing.
And it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
There's another young guy, Danny Milano. He works with Antonio Tarver. Those are about the only guys I could really think of right now.
It would be great if you could pool all that knowledge and get all those cutmen together and like
Absolutely.
like almost like a cutmen's convention or
Right.
something, and all you guys
I'm gonna
talk
work on
about
that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great
Yeah.
idea, you know, and,
That is a
and
good
really
idea.
pick each other's brains and
Right.
try to let the athletic commissions know, look, we're working together, and we want to make the sport as safe as possible for these fighters, because that's really what it's about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's safety first.
Yeah, definitely, and that's
in
what
any fight.
a great friend of mine, Steve Acunto, he
Right.
formed the AAIB, American Association for the Improvement of Boxing, with Rocky Marciano back in the
Right.
day, and Steve's done so much to improve the sport, and it's just great having good guys like you
Right.
and Sharky and Steve and all these guys in different areas of the sport,
Right.
and it's just amazing. It's a lot of knowledge and
Yeah, absolutely. The AAIB is a tremendous organization.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And Steve's got a beautiful museum
Right.
there in his house. He's got all the
Yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't
Oh,
seen it.
Dave, you have to see it.
I know. I'm going to
Yeah,
have to
but
go.
He has a whole section just dedicated to Rocky Marciano. He's got
Right.
another room for Ali. He's got another room for Willie Pep. It's unbelievable. I mean,
Wow.
it rivals any other, boxing, Canastota or any of those places.
Right. Oh, sure.
So yeah, he's really great. Now, as far as monetary, obviously you can't live off being a cut man.
Unless you have fighters that are making millions of dollars, no, you really can't.
Now, I guess it's just having a passion for it, and
Yeah, I love what I do, being a cut man. I consider myself to be really good at it, and boxing's taken me places I would have never been if it wasn't for boxing. I've been, halfway around the world. I've seen stuff I would have never seen.
yeah.
So
And they usually pay your expenses.
Oh, yeah,
They'll say, hey,
everything's paid
Dave,
for.
look, there's plane tickets waiting for you in a hotel room, and you're good
Absolutely.
to go. Be here at this time, and we're having a car pick you up.
basically, I just show up at the airport, and the ticket's there, and that's it, and somebody picks me up.
That's great. Have you ever had anybody come to you and say, Dave, I want you to be my mentor. I want you to teach me the art. Have you had anybody come across?
Yeah, I've had actually tons of people go to my website, and
Oh, you have a website.
yeah,
All right. Let's mention Dave Tenny's website.
sure, it's thecutman.com.
Thecutman.com. I like that.
Yep. And you can get all my updates of where I'm going to be
Excellent.
It'll tell you what fights are out there and who I'm going to be working with. And I get a lot of emails, and people are asking me all the time, but I only try to focus on the ones that are in the business.
Yeah.
And I actually tutored somebody. He's from Michigan. He actually just started to work his first pro fight last week, so I was pretty proud of him. The fighter he was with did have a cut, and he took care of it perfectly, so that's about it.
That's great. Yeah. Having a steady hand for that business.
You have to.
Can't get nervous when all the lights are on the cameras are
going.
You know, the fighter's jittery and jumping around. He wants water and he's trying to move. I think that's probably a hard thing, is to keep that.
That's a big key, actually.
Yeah, is to just keep him calm and steady.
Right, sure. The calmer your fighter is, the actually easier your job will be.
Is that mainly because not just the movement, but the blood flow, as far as his heart rate is pumping?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you keep his heart rate down, the blood doesn't flow as much.
Exactly. So it's pretty basic stuff when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, you're not allowed to use any type of clamps, or any adhesives or anything like that. I know that. What are the things that you know that you can't use, that you think other cutmen may have tried to use in the past, or have the rules changed as far as those different coagulants?
Well, yeah, definitely. Years ago, there used to be a very widely used product called Moncel Solution. It was an iron-based product, and what would happen is it would do a great job on the cut. The problem is it would burn the skin and actually cause inflammation, and it would get into the fighter's eyes, and it could cause them to go blind. Oof. So it was banned. Other than that, coagulants, like I said, the basic ones that we use were those three that I mentioned.
Yeah.
You can't use any hard objects in the corner. Cutmen generally have a lot of gauze pads, and they should be sterile. You'll see them with Q-tips that are rolled up to put your liquid coagulants on. And you have to control swelling. The swelling is a big key. And I use some different tools. The common name is called N-swell.
Yeah.
I have ones that were actually made by an ophthalmologist. He designed them, and they actually fit over the orbital bone. So it's a pretty unique looking tool, but it's very effective.
It's great that technology's helping you out there in the ring.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, when we have to touch this, when are you going to write the book, Dave?
I was asked that by another friend of mine. I don't know, but I would say soon. Maybe with your help, I'll.
When you do, I get the first copy, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd love that. It's funny because I had a friend of mine, Joe. He's one of the guys that trains in the gym. He writes screenplays.
Okay.
And he said, Nicky, when are we gonna do the screenplay about your life story? And I'm like, yeah, one of these days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of those things when you put it on the back burner. It's a thought. But to actually sit down and start, doing it.
Sure.
So he's kind of like pushing my hand towards doing it, And,
you got to find the time.
I'm going to stay on you about that.
All right.
And the next time we have you on the show, it should be a book signing that we're talking about at Barnes & Noble.
At least I'll have it started.
Yeah. Well, we had Peter Wood was on the show not too long ago. And, Peter was back at the cage, and he's an English teacher at the White Plains High School.
Right.
And Peter's a great guy, and he authored 2 books.
Right.
And, I asked him, I said, how do you go about that, just sitting down and doing it? And I think by this time, not that you're an old-timer or anything yet, because I saw you hit the bag, and you still got some fire in your punches. Yeah, getting back in shape. But yeah, I think that's something that everybody really needs to know. Are there any books out there right now on Cutman?
Unfortunately not. But hopefully I'll have the first one.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I wish Al Gavin was around and we could do something together.
Yeah.
Because that would be a phenomenal book.
Yeah, we're not the only one. We all wish I was.
But I've thought about that, and I've been asked that quite a few times. You got to do something. You got to write a book. So it's coming.
Do you have any photos as far as some illustration you could throw in that book, because I'm sure that, some action photos of you right there in the ring.
Yeah,
Closing the cup.
yeah, I actually do. I have a couple of them. And the documentary I did a while back has got some great footage
That's dynamite.
too. So yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah, they actually got me in the corner, and yeah, it was perfect.
Now, it's, how many fights do you work average in a year?
God, Nick, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
I used to count them. I used to write them down, and then I stopped. I just started working too many.
Isn't that's a great problem to have, though, right?
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, you're working a lot of fights.
I had too many, and I just stopped writing in a book.
Yeah.
But I would say it could be anywhere. It could be as little as 15 fights a year. It could be as much as 40 fights.
Yeah.
It all depends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're from Westchester.
Yes.
Okay. How long you lived in Westchester?
I've lived in Westchester, I would say 25, 30 years.
And it was definitely, I remember, back in the 80s, it was definitely a big place for boxing, as far as boxing in the county center. And did you ever work any fights in the county center? Did you ever get a chance to?
I think I worked a couple of fights there. Yeah, I did. Maybe early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dave, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I really
Anytime,
appreciate
no problem.
it. And
thanks for having me.
You got to work on that book, definitely.
I know. You got to keep reminding me.
Yeah, and I think we'll have Sharky. He'll probably stay on both of us about it,
Yeah.
Because Sharky's always saying, yeah, you gotta do a book. You got to do a book one of these. And somebody like Sharky, he should do a book too.
Oh,
I know.
absolutely. Or at least have him in the book.
Yes, of course. We'll definitely remember to put Sharky in both of them.
That's a must.
Definitely. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate
and,
it.
thecutman.com.
Thecutman.com.
If you want to check out Dave's website, thecutman.com, learn about where Dave's going to be, go watch him in action, and see what the game is all about, working the corner, working with fighters, and closing those cuts.
Keep your
Dave,
hands up.
I appreciate it. That's it. Like Scoop used to say all the time.
Yep.
Keep your left hand high and your butt off the canvas. That's
There
my
you
buddy
go.
Scoop Galala. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this week's edition of In the Ring. I'm your host, Nicky Knuckles, and keep on punching.